Good evening, everyone. So can the future really change the past? Can we alter something when the die has been cast? I remember those young days just after my graduation. My parents made me choose teaching over journalism as my vocation. I knew my heart lay in writing, so after just 2 years to be precise, I moved to journalism, but never let my parents forget their misguided advice. Some years later, I was asked to be the visiting faculty in journalism in the university. What held me in good stead, you guessed it, was my long-forgotten BA degree. My future had changed my perceptions of my past, and my poor parents were finally let off the hook at last. Scores of stories in the years ahead showed me without a doubt how future choices healed hurts of past threw bitterness out. From the girl who lived with hatred for the killers of her parents, and then one day, she forgave them from her heart, and in the process expunged all the turmoil away. On the flip side was this privileged man who thought he was the world's luckiest lad, till a DNA test proved his genes came not from the man he called dad. And then the deflation of my own ego, born from the possession of some degrees, that today have been completely overshadowed by this invention we call ChatGPT. In 30 seconds, it throws up answers that would take me at least 1 hour. The certificates I was so proud of have lost some of their sheen and some of their power. So the future may not be able to change the past events that have already taken place, but it can alter perceptions and throw up new discoveries that you must face. Generally speaking, though, who wouldn't want to go back and change some things? Some bad choices, unsound judgments, faulty decisions, and incorrect instincts. But the law of life prohibits this travel back to time, and for valid reasons. What if you went back and committed some grave treasons? Like murdering your grandfather somehow when he was still in school. He then wouldn't have met your granny, begot your dad, and you wouldn't be here. A bit uncool. Quantum physics, though, has delved deeper into this and actually proved it can be done. They don't mean humans can go back in time, but yes, atoms and photons. John Wheeler showed this with the duality of matter and light in his delayed choice experiments, how a particle could behave as a wave or a particle depending upon later measuring instruments. Too complex, isn't it? Yes, indeed. In fact, it makes me think it might be better to carefully think out decisions than trying to rectify them in hindsight. But seriously speaking, of all the times to debate this subject, today is the most pertinent because we are actually living through this kind of change the past intent. Today, this question is not as hypothetical as it was yesterday. So am I saying that the past can be changed in a way? Well, the past is history, and history today is being rewritten surely. Some dynasties, some Darwinian concepts have exited textbooks quietly. We have changed names of roads and cities. We have banned tons of books and ditties. World over, politically incorrect phrases are being removed or revised, lest the post sounds offensive or the writer is criticized. As a small writer myself, there's something I like to add to this particular discussion. Put into it some reason, some rhyme, and debated with passion. I mean, who can possibly call P.G. Woodhouse an offensive writer? A man who's not used phrases stronger than a blighter. Ian Fleming's new James Bond may be less racist and more polite. But won't something about those pages make you feel they don't sound all right? And while Roahl Dahl could have avoided calling kids ugly and fat, that's a consensus. But erasing those adjectives is tampering with precious original work of a genius. By omitting words like Oriental, Gypsy, Native from books of Agatha Christie, are we not disregarding contexts that shape narratives in all works literary? Those who have the wisdom and ability to read all these legends so great would surely also have the wisdom to realize that no offense was intended in the first place. Incidentally, I have just finished translating my great-grandfather's book of humorous poetry. And now I understand why rhyming comes to me so naturally. It's clear some gene has traveled so far down somehow, making it easier for me to write verses than prose, if you haven't guessed that by now. Again, 100 years ago, he may have never imagined this happening, that his Punjabi poetry would be resurrected from the past and changed for an English-speaking gathering. But the point here, what I really want to make, in fact, is that I have kept the language, his biases, even his biting satire intact. And while my other contribution to the literary world is minuscule by any rate, but decades later, if anyone would want to change my book's lines, I would feel betrayed. Multiply that by 1,000 times for icons like Fleming, Woodhouse, Darwin, Dahl, and Christie. And you will know it's not correct to edit works of legend, especially posthumously. So at this point, I would like to twist the theme of the day a wee bit. We know now that future can influence the past, but should it? Or should the past remain undisturbed and left alone? Should the past remain undisturbed and left alone? Surely there should be some sins for which we could atone. The crux to it all maybe lies in sensitivity and ethics. One must be able to judge what should and what should not be fixed. If your own future is likely to become more peaceful and more calm, go right ahead and influence the events of the years gone by if they are like a balm. The years which have gone can happily make you live present in a better way, but pause deeply and think before the same principle you applies to others who are not there. Mankind will continue to find ways to influence, even change the past. It is on our DNA to do the exact opposite of what nature in stone has cast. Remember the Garden of Eden? With that one instruction Adam got from the Almighty? Do whatever you want, kid, just don't eat that apple, I beseech thee. The minute he turned his back, well, that's precisely what a man just had to do. The result? Here are all of us today in this world discussing past, present, and the future. Thank you.